Hello and welcome. I'm Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching India Today Global. We start this bulletin with a major, rare diplomatic event that New Delhi witnessed today. Amid heightened global volatility, President of UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan visited India on Monday. The trip lasted for just over 3 hours, but it was power-packed to say the least. From an airport welcome by Prime Minister Narendra Modi to a display of car diplomacy between the two leaders, the visit reinforced ties that India and United Arab Emirates shares. Preksha Jain has more in this report.
Hugs, handshakes and a red carpet welcome. As UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan descended from aircraft, he was greeted with a warm embrace by Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself. What followed was a sequel of Modi's much-loved car diplomacy, with the two leaders ditching protocol and hitching a ride together. This diplomatic engagement at a time of heightened global volatility reinforces how ties between India and the UAE are more significant than ever. The two leaders travelled together to Prime Minister Modi's official residence. A high-powered delegation, including members of the royal families of both Abu Dhabi and Dubai, accompanied the UAE President. In the short but substantive 3-hour visit, Prime Minister Modi and President Mohammed bin Zayed discussed a wide range of issues, from nuclear reactors to LNG to a $200 billion trade target. Over the course of just 3 hours, the leaders delivered over a dozen agreements, from energy to trade and from defense to space.
We plan to look at defense industrial cooperation, defense innovation, partnerships in advanced technology in the area of defense. Countries look at defense threats in the cyberspace domain.
The two leaders also unequivocally condemned all forms of terrorism, reinforcing that India and the UAE stand together against terror.
They unequivocally condemned cross-border terrorism and for the perpetrators, supporters and financiers of all acts of terrorism to be brought to justice.
The UAE President departed with traditional Indian gifts from Prime Minister Modi, including a carved wooden swing from Gujarat and a pashmina shawl in an ornate silver box, together representing India's rich tradition of handloom and handicraft. Preksha Jain for India Today.
And now to discuss this issue and understand the importance of its timing and significance of delivery of this important visit, I am now being joined by Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, a seasoned diplomat who has served in this region. Welcome to India Today Global, sir. My first question to you.
Thank you.
My first question to you, sir, that this visit was very power-packed. A very short visit. Rarely these kind of visits rarely happens that in such a short period of time such significant deliveries are announced. But what do you think? What made the timing of this visit so significant, so important? Is it a signaling? Is it a messaging being given to the larger audience and the geopolitics of this region?
Yes, Pranay. I mean, as you are aware that in West Asia is an extremely important region for us. It is also, in my view, an existential for us, so that its strategic stability and security remains paramount in all our calculations. That's extremely important. In recent times, we have seen that not only that region is suffering from several hotspots and volatility and fights and conflicts between various countries trying to destabilize the region. But at the same time, they are also threatening India's own security in that sense. And therefore, our own strategic pursuit of our objectives and strategic partnerships with countries like UAE and Saudi Arabia and several other countries in the region has gone on from strength to strength. As far as UAE is concerned, it is a unique partnership And you remember that when Prime Minister Modi took over, UAE was the first country. He has been there 7 times himself, and this is the fifth visit of Sheikh Zayed to India,
Hmm.
which is rare in any sense of the term, wherever you look at it. You will not find this kind of bonhomie, this kind of um,
Hmm.
sort of coordination
Sure.
with
Hmm.
both the countries and also in the regional and sub-regional context. Now,
Hmm.
this visit was short but highly substantive and
Hmm.
significant. Now, in
Hmm.
order to do such visits, it is also important that the prior consultations happen. If you remember,
Hmm.
Dr. Jaishankar was in Abu Dhabi for a strategic
Yes.
dialogue, which was held.
Hmm.
And then before that, we had the Joint Commission meeting
Hmm.
as well as the High Council meeting, which
Hmm.
had already worked out on several important outcomes. At
Hmm.
the same time, currently, as we are seeing, there is a very different kind of a situation happening in the Middle East, especially in the GCC countries,
Hmm.
and that we are looking at new kind of defense and strategic equations are emerging in the region.
I actually
And
wanted
there,
to ask you about the defense agreement only, Ambassador Trikona, that we have seen a letter of intent for strategic defense partnership among other big defense moves. Does this trip point to some immediate regional security pressure, and why UAE has decided to enter into this defense partnership with India? How we should read this?
as you know that we do have a defense agreement, and
Hmm.
our chiefs have been visiting. We have been conducting military exercises with UAE and with other countries in the region, but mainly with the United Arab Emirates. And this was the first country where the chief of army staff also visited. And we have been having regular exchanges with UAE in that sense. But right now,
Hmm.
what we are trying to do is we are expanding the defense
Hmm.
partnership into innovation, into joint manufacturing, into different areas. And of course,
Hmm.
this is to do something to do with the regional developments that have taken place. There are certain polarizations that are taking place. And I would also say that since
Hmm.
we are looking at Pakistan getting deeply immersed into the becoming sort of a net security provider, so India
Hmm.
has been always looked up by various
Hmm.
countries in the region. And I can tell you from personal experience that they want
Hmm.
India to play a greater role, and in fact, many of the people want India to
Yes.
be a security arbiter in the region as well.
Hmm.
Although we have not resorted to that, but that is one
Hmm.
thing. On
Hmm.
this particular thing, I would
Hmm.
say between UAE and India, and during this visit, it's pretty clear that the key
You're absolutely
areas
right,
have
Ambassador
been
Trikona. A lot
focused.
is happening in West Asia region. But if I may, try and understand from you that, recently President Donald Trump has extended an invitation to Prime Minister Narendra Modi to be part of the Board of Peace on Gaza reconstruction. How do you see this development and for India? And do you think that, today's summit also indicates for India's West Asia diplomacy amid these fast-moving US-led initiatives?
Well, USA initiative is very much understandable. President Trump has been committed to Gaza peace. He has been trying very hard, actually, despite several odds, including from their own strategic partner in Israel, which is opposing it. Actually, even the Board of Peace, they are not on the same, I would say, same cardboard to begin with on
Yes.
their chessboards. So they don't like Pakistan being there. They don't like Turkey being there or their forces being there. That's the Israeli objections to that. But as far as India is concerned, nobody has any objection to anyone. But India is not, India has been invited, but I doubt very much that we'll be accepting it. But India should be providing assistance, which we have been doing humanitarian assistance for Gazans who have suffered a great deal. But India is acceptable everywhere. I mean, that is the beauty of India's diplomacy, I would say. And West Asia, India's West Asia diplomacy has been a great success. And the result of that is clearly evident in any of the areas you see, whether from Saudi Arabia down to UAE to Israel or to Egypt, any country you look at, India's relationship has become strategic in the real sense of the term in the region. And so
Absolutely,
I think,
Ambassador
and more,
Gunad. The
yes.
diplomacy of India has actually, gave these dividends. And in fact, thanks to all of diplomats like you who have served for the country and provided the building block for this partnership. Thank you very much for sharing your perspective and thoughts
Thank you.
on this important visit. And moving on, let's talk about yet another visit, because External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held talks with Poland's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski and urging the European country to display zero tolerance for terrorism, not fuel terrorist infrastructure in India's neighborhood. And there is a special reference to this remark by External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar, because recently Poland's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Radoslav visited Pakistan as well, and he signed a joint statement wherein there was a mention about Kashmir as well. However, Dr. Jaishankar further stated that both countries should exchange views and perspective. And India's foreign minister also said that India and Poland had traditionally shared warm and friendly ties. And he also recalled Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Poland in 2024, which elevated the bilateral ties, the bilateral relation between India and Poland to a strategic partnership. And External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar said that both sides would review the action plan 2024-28 to fully realize the potential of the strategic partnership. However, on the other side, the Polish Deputy Prime Minister said that both countries were dynamic players in the region and should explore opportunities together. He also said that Poland has been victim of terrorism. He also expressed that how selective targeting through tariffs, mind it, he also mentioned about tariffs, could widen the global trade disruptions.
Deputy Prime Minister, you are no stranger to our region and are more than familiar with the long-standing challenges of cross-border terrorism. I hope at this meeting to discuss some of your recent travels to the region. Poland should display zero tolerance for terrorism and not help fuel the terrorist infrastructure in our neighborhood.
I completely agree with you on the need to counter transnational, trans-border terrorism. Poland, as you may have heard, has been a victim of both arsons and attempted state terrorism when a Polish railway line was blown up under a moving train just very recently. Fortunately, through the incompetence of the terrorists, there were no casualties. I also completely agree with you on the unfairness of selective targeting.
And now let's cut across to my colleague and Foreign Affairs Editor of India Today, Geeta Mohan. Geeta, you heard External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar clearly giving a red line for India in the presence of the Deputy Prime Minister of Poland. What do you make out of this statement? Is it a red line being drawn by India that, or maybe a veiled warning that, India will be compelled to review the relationship if, such things are being continued by Poland? Because, that how Deputy Prime Minister of Poland recently visited Pakistan and he signed a joint declaration, joint document where Kashmir was also mentioned.
Well, absolutely, Pranay. The fact that in October, the Deputy Prime Minister of Poland was in Islamabad, and in their joint communique, they did mention, and there was a mention of Kashmir. So this is not the first time. In fact, this would be the second time that there is a direct response to that joint communique, wherein now we're looking at a face-to-face communication where Dr. Jaishankar, in no uncertain words, has told the Polish side that there can be no interference when it comes to the issue of Kashmir. Cross-border terrorism is an issue that India suffers, and it suffers at the hands of Pakistan. So there are no good or bad terrorists. And over here, the Polish side should be careful in ensuring that it does not cause trouble in the neighborhood. So that's a very strong statement coming in from India. India has been reiterating this, Pranay, as you know, with all countries that now even mention Kashmir in their statements, their joint communique, or as passing remarks. So this is a red line that India has had now for a while with various countries, that it also includes all European nations, including Poland.
But Geeta, Deputy Prime Minister of Poland also mentioned about the tariff issue. What are the issues, what are the common grounds where India and Poland can work together, especially at a time when, entire Europe is also feeling the pain and pinch of the President Donald Trump-led tariffs?
Well, that's a very interesting one because, Pranay, there was a to and fro between Dr. Jaishankar and his Polish counterpart on the tariffs and selective targeting of India. He said it went beyond just tariffs. So, yes, the two sides maybe still do not see eye to eye or are not on the same platform when it comes to the issue of tariffs and how India was isolated by Europe. Or selectively targeted for having continued to buy Russian oil. On the other hand, He has made public statements that India has reduced Russian oil, although there's no official statement to that effect. But yes, tariffs are very important, and that's why the Indian side,
Absolutely,
the
Geeta,
European
tariffs are
side
important.
especially.
Thank you very much for sharing your context and perspective on this issue. But in fact, this is the second important visit from Europe ahead of India-EU signing an FTA. But moving on, let's talk about India and Pakistan, because India and Pakistan are rivals for decades and now face a test no one expected, a US-led board of peace for Gaza. One brings credibility of institutions, building and restraint. The other brings suspicion and a history of terror links. Can New Delhi rise above the chaos and show the world how peace works, how peace is done? More on this in Statecraft with Geeta Mohan.
India and Pakistan, historic rivals, nuclear-armed neighbors, long-time adversaries, and now both have been invited to sit together on a US-led board of peace for post-war Gaza. Hard to imagine, yet here we are. President Donald Trump announced the creation of the board of peace intended to oversee governance and reconstruction in Gaza after the recent conflict. Both India and Pakistan have received invitations to participate. Whether they accept or how they respond remains to be seen. A bold diplomatic experiment or a potential recipe for friction. How can two countries whose history is defined by wars and deep mistrust, where one conducts cross-border terrorism against the other, possibly collaborate on rebuilding a territory as fragile as Gaza? And what does it mean for the region and the world if they try? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Let's be honest about the contrast here. India arrives at this table with credibility earned through restraint, institution building, and humanitarian action. Pakistan arrives with questions about intent, about credibility, and about a long history of entanglement with terror outfits that have thrived in chaos, not peace. If this board is meant to stabilize Gaza, the difference between a builder and a spoiler will matter immediately. You see, India's invitation is almost textbook strategy here. Neutral, credible, unburdened by past aggression in West Asia, strong ties with Israel, goodwill across the Arab world, a track record of humanitarian aid and institution building rather than military dominance. Israel's ambassador to India, Rowan Azar, has made it clear that Pakistan's participation is deeply problematic. Azar expressed serious concern over Pakistan army involvement, pointing to growing links between Hamas and Pakistan-based terror groups, including Lashkar-e-Taiba. Israel fears legitimizing actors it considers destabilizing. Unlike India, Pakistan carries baggage that could complicate governance and aid delivery in Gaza. For Pakistan, the stakes are equally high: credibility, perception, trust. Its historical associations with militant networks, coupled with domestic instability, could undermine its ability to deliver results. Israel's warnings add weight. Any misstep risks reinforcing its image as unreliable in international peace efforts. Trump's calculus is deliberate. He wants to break Gaza's historical cycle, destruction followed by rebuilding with no governance. Including India signals legitimacy to Palestinians and Arabs. Including Pakistan signals inclusivity but risks friction. He also wants to block China from dominating reconstruction, ensuring transparency over debt-driven influence. Globally, the implications are profound. Success could rewrite the playbook for rival states collaborating in post-conflict reconstruction. Failure reinforces a familiar narrative: history and rivalry trump responsibility. For India, success is a chance to demonstrate global credibility, responsible power, and moral authority. For Pakistan, participation is an opportunity to build trust, but missteps could reinforce negative perceptions. Gaza may have found a board, but whether it becomes a model of collaboration or a cautionary tale depends on these two historic rivals navigating history, strategy, and human need. The gamble is real. The moment is historic. And for Gaza, the difference between success and failure may come down to the ability of old enemies to act like partners. Thank you for watching Statecraft.
And that's all we have in this edition of India Today Global. But before I sign off, I leave you with the story of Marvel Studio. Because after 37 films and a decade and a half of dominance, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is facing what many are calling superhero fatigue. But now Marvel is betting big on Dark Reset, a new villain, a massive cast, and the return of the biggest star. Kshitija Gosavi breaks down what Avengers Doomsday really means for the future of Marvel.
After years of uneven box office results and mixed fan response, Marvel is preparing its boldest move yet. Not a new hero, but a legendary villain, Dr. Victor Von Doom. And the man behind the mask? The face that built the MCU, Robert Downey Jr. The former Iron Man returns, but not as a savior, but as the franchise's most dangerous enemy. A reveal that sent Comic-Con into meltdown and instantly put Avengers Doomsday on the map. Marvel insiders say he was the only one who could carry the role, while critics say it's proof Marvel is running out of ideas. Either way, attention is back.
Yeah, I can fly.
And so are almost everyone else. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Tom Holland, Pedro Pascal, Florence Pugh, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Benedict Cumberbatch. The cast list reads like a cinematic phone book. Recent teasers suggest this isn't just another Avengers film. It's a multiverse collision. Steve Rogers is back, younger and holding a child. Is seen on his knees, praying to protect his adopted daughter.
So that I may fight once more, defeat one more enemy, and return home to her.
And for the first time ever, the X-Men officially entered the MCU. Meanwhile, Wakanda faces a new threat as Shuri joined forces with the Fantastic Four, hinting that this battle won't be limited to one world or one universe.
I have mine.
King M'Baku of Wakanda.
Then, Yancey Street between Broome and Grand.
Marvel is clearly raising the emotional stakes. Legacy, family, children, afterlife. And at the center of it all, Doom. A character obsessed with power, destiny, and control. With Spider-Man returning this July.
What is this?
Doomsday arriving on 18 December and Secret Wars locked for 2027. Marvel is building towards its biggest crossover since Endgame.
This world belongs to me now.
The question now isn't who's coming back.
Gone to hell. Guess it's my turn to bleed for it.
It's whether Marvel can make audiences care again. Because Avengers Doomsday isn't just another sequel. It's Marvel's test of survival.
On my mark. Only he can rebuild what was lost.
With Kshitija Gosavi, Bureau Report, India Today.
War